If you didn't already know, February is American Heart Month, and we are celebrating, if you will, by looking at how we can take better care of our hearts, especially amid the stress the pandemic has brought into our lives. Here now is certified health coach Erica Ballard. She joins us with some advice for how to decrease stress and increase our heart health. Well, thank you for being with us as always, Erica. What kind of impact does stress have on the heart?
I'm loving that we're having this conversation because, you know, when we think about heart disease prevention, we often talk about food and workouts, but the reality is chronic stress causes heart disease, and it does so by way of inflammation. Now, the mechanisms behind it, we're not quite sure of, but what we do know is that increased inflammation is likely to increase the amount of plaque on our blood vessels, which causes those significant heart events. So making sure that we address stress, as you can imagine, is really huge to make sure that our heart is healthy.
Of course, and you have a few tried and true tools to help us reduce stress, one of which is daily movement. So how does that help?
Yes, movement. And I just want to preface this conversation with saying that when I say movement, I don't mean long HIIT workouts or long cardio workouts, because those can actually work against us when we're really stressed out. When I say movement, I mean basic movement like walking, yoga, things of that nature. And the reason it's so important, particularly for stress management, is that when we get stressed out, our body pumps out cortisol and adrenaline and glucose because it's preparing to move. Hence why it's called the fight or flight response. So when we get up and move, take a walk, do yoga, right when stress is building, it gives that glucose, that cortisol, that adrenaline an outlet, which then dissipates the stress response in our body.
And, you know, I think sometimes, too, just taking a walk around the block just kind of helps us clear our minds and just give our heart and our body just some space to relax, even just a little bit. Your next tool is one I've actually personally been recommended to try, but to be honest with you, Erica, I'm not really even sure where to begin. That's meditating. So why should a person meditate, and what are some simple ways to do so?
This is my favorite way to reduce stress because everyone knows, right, it's one of the best ways to prevent and manage stress, yet so few people act on this advice. But from a stress management perspective, it's so important because what meditation does is it teaches us how to stay calm in the most chaotic place in the planet. Our minds, right? Our minds are the most chaotic place on the planet. And so what meditation does is it teaches us how to be calm in there, which then allows us to open our eyes and walk out into real world situations where we can then be calm too. So that's why it's so important. Now for practices, you know, I always like to tell people less is better. Meditating for 10 minutes is a really long time when you're getting started. So considering meditating for 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes a few times a week to get used to the practice is really helpful. Also using guided meditations if you're new to it, and let yourself build up. There's no reason to be a hero when meditating. Start where you are and allow yourself to build the muscle to meditate more regularly.
A little bit can go a long way. You also recommend finding white space throughout the day. What does that mean?
So this is a really important conversation given what's going on today, right? We're all on our devices all the time. And when we're on our devices all the time, what that means is our brain and body are on all the time. But our brain and body are not designed to be on all the time. They need a break. They need white space. And they need that because if it doesn't get that, then they're going to become stressed, which will then make us feel stress. So it's so important for us to build in white space throughout our day where our brains and bodies can just be. Now, what this looks like is taking a bath without our phone, or walking without our phone, or listening to music with our phone on the other side of the room. And for anyone who's panicking a little bit about doing something like this, remember that your best ideas come in the shower. So creating that white space, even though it will feel like you're doing nothing, you're gonna get a lot more done because you're giving your brain and body time to be and think of those brilliant ideas.
I feel like I just got permission that I get to take longer showers now. All right. Erica, we always enjoy having you here on CBSN Denver. Thank you so much for your advice. If you'd like more of Erica's tips on reducing stress, we have a link to her website at cbsdenver.com. We'll be right back.